welcome back to People Junkie, a podcast about people and their stories, as everyone has one, and maybe you could connect with someone you never thought you would. If you've been following the podcast, we so appreciate all your support. And if you're new, thanks for joining. Now, today's word of the day is crafty. That means involving the making of decorative objects and other things by hand. And my guest knows how to do that. Her name is Kathy Cano-Murillo, aka the Crafty Chica. She's a former syndicated newspaper columnist and now a full-time creativepreneur, which has led to multiple product lines and collabs with national brands. She's authored several craft books and novels, including one about the life of Frida Kahlo, and her latest, The Crafty Chica Creates. She has new product lines with Makers Movement for HSN, yes, that's the Home Shopping Network, Bisque Imports, Madison Park Greetings, and Riley Blake Fabrics. She has been featured in Forbes, the New York Times, BuzzFeed, and more. Kathy's life mission is to inspire others to bring out their inner sparkle and to see the sparkle in others. She believes in paying it forward and setting a positive example, and she uses craftychica.com to do so. Well, without further ado, I bring you Kathy Cano-Murillo, aka the Crafty Chica. Well, thanks, Kathy, for joining us, aka the Crafty Chica, on season 2 of People Junkie Podcast. And you're our first guest. We're super excited to have you. How's it going?
Oh, thank you for having me. It's going great. I'm so happy summer's almost over. We're heading into Halloween, Dia de los Muertos season.
Right?
It's still early. It's August.
Oh, but, no, let me tell you, right after the holiday that we just had, so many people were coming out, on social media and stuff like that saying, all right, it's, Halloween time.
Yes, it's like, please, can we have Halloween now? Can we have cooler weather?
Right? I mean, I'm still starting off, so I haven't got my own studio yet, and it is hot right now, and I'm in, Southern California. I think you're in Arizona, right?
Yep, Phoenix.
Well, thanks again for joining us again for season 2 on People Junkie. Talk about Crafty Chica and why should people get to know who she is?
Well, this year I'm celebrating 21 years of Crafty Chica.
Congratulations.
And thank you. It has been such a fun journey. Like, I never in a million years thought that this would be my full-time career, crafting and writing and doing what I love. I mean, I always have had jobs that I love, like writing at the newspaper. I was an entertainment reporter and a craft columnist there, but there's always that salary paycheck, right?
I hear you.
And to break away from that and have it on my own terms, using my website as the foundation, it has just been such a cool opportunity. So basically what I do through Crafty Chica is I started off by sharing Latino-themed, Latino-centric craft tutorials, because I love to make things, but I could never find our culture represented in the stores or in magazines so I would see these DIY projects and I would give them a twist to fit our culture and I would sell them. And pretty soon that got too big to handle. My husband and I, we had 300 accounts where we were making loteria magnets and just all of these crazy things. So I switched it up and I said, you know what? I'm going to teach people how to make these things. And I launched Crafty Chica, and it just kept growing and growing, and it grew into a full-time career. And now I have a manager and I have a production employee and an accountant, and like, it just is so cool that our community is strong enough to support something like this, Latino crafts. So
yeah, I mean, us Latinos, we're so powerful when it comes to the dollar, right? But the entertainment industry and, media in general, make it seem as though we don't count. However, if it wasn't for us, the box office wouldn't be returning the way it is, right? Or the millions upon millions, that are spent online. And you know what? The proof is in the pudding.
Right.
And the pudding is the dinero o efectivo, right? So I really applaud you in
Yes.
your hustle and, for all those who are trying to make it right now. And I know I had a pivot in the beginning of the pandemic. I was working in marketing and I was making good amount of change. But always the first to go when it comes to the economy going down is marketing. So when I lost my job, I had to ask myself, what am I going to do now? And I thought about going back into radio because that's where, I first started 16, 17 years old as a country music
Yeah.
disc jockey in the state of Indiana. Then I was talking to my friend and he's like, why don't you just start a podcast?
Mhm.
Why don't you just do it? Just do it. He kept on saying that. And I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So, that's how People Junkie
Uh-huh.
got started. And, I thought those three
Yeah,
words in one sentence, just do it, are pretty powerful. And I see that's what you've done.
exactly. And what is really in the craft industry, um, there have been several times, several points that where what I did I really felt like it mattered more than like normal times, like especially during the time of 9/11, when all of that happened, people turned inward. They really started focusing on what mattered, like their families, having quality time together, and they were looking to do more family oriented things together. And I had my website where I was sharing content every day. Like I took what I learned at the newspaper and applied it to my website to serve Latinas. And people, it was all free. Like it was free things to do at home with your family, or a lot of journaling, a lot of self care. But this was like in, back during that time. And people wrote to me and said, wow, your stories on your blog helped get me through this time. We needed to save money. We use this. And then during the recession in 2008, that was when I left my newspaper job to do work, become a spokesperson for a craft company. And I was like, oh my God, the recession. But you know what? It ended up, the craft industry like got so popular because people used crafts as a way of entertainment, of family entertainment, and playing games at home and just doing more things to save money. And again, I had all these projects of like using everyday objects to create beauty in your house. And so now is, I just look at it, I say, I feel really proud that I just did that from my heart. And I never expected to get paid from it. It would, to me, the payment was just traffic coming to my site. And I thought, wow, there's an audience for this. I'm serving an audience that is not being served anywhere else. And it just made me feel so happy. It made me want to keep doing it. But then things started happening, book deals and product lines and all of these other types of things. And in 2015, I left being a spokesperson for that company to do full on my own company. So, people underestimate the crafts market. There's a lot of
You're
opportunity
right.
there, especially in our culture.
I want to really back a little bit. Can you go and talk further more about your journalism career and where you were writing and what you were writing about? I know you said a little something, but if you can go further in, that'd be great.
Oh, definitely. Well, I worked at the Arizona Republic, and I actually started there as a news clerk with an associate's degree. And I just started as a file clerk and I worked my way up. I feel like I'm really big into manifesting, but I didn't know I was doing it at the time.
Yeah.
And because of certain situations, I ended up reviewing movies and interviewing celebrities. And they asked me to write a Saturday craft column. And that column ended up becoming syndicated all around the country in 130 different newspapers. So they sent me to night school to finish my bachelor's degree so that I could get columnist pay, because I'd been doing all of it on clerk pay.
It just makes
And
sense.
yes, it just, that was one of the biggest fears that I had just said, like, I don't want a college degree. I don't need it. I'll just do all of this for clerk's pay. And we had a managing editor who was like, oh, hell no, you're going to go get your degree. So I went to night school. I mean, working full time, 2 kids. I had my Crafty Chica business, our art business. I was helping my husband manage his band, and then going to night school to finish my bachelor's degree. It was a lot. It took me about 2 years, but I finished it, and it was more, it wasn't so much about the degree as it was about the mindset of doing something that I thought I couldn't do, because it was just like a year later that I ended up leaving to do Crafty Chica full time. But I loved it. I loved that job. Like every job I've ever had, I've always had a prerequisite that it has to be something that I love. And that way I feel like it kind of like fed into the bigger picture of what I'm doing now. Like one time I made holiday gift baskets, like hundreds of them.
Wow.
So I learned about staging and wrapping and design and giftware and all of that. And so all of these different jobs, like they help give me experience for what I do now. And the newspaper was so essential because I got so many press releases, and I knew which press releases jumped out at me to want to write a story about that person or that band or whatever that business was.
Yeah.
And I remembered that when I went into doing my own business, where I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit up USA Today. I'm going to hit up Forbes. I'm going to hit up this. And I ended up being covered in all these different magazines for my website. So anything is possible. That is like the biggest takeaway, is anything is possible.
Well, quick question, another one about journalism before we go forth on with Crafty Chica and so forth. What do you think about journalism today? In the sense, it seems like the forum has changed a bit.
Oh, it has changed tremendously.
Right.
So my days at the paper were during the 2000s, and working for a large daily newspaper, we were not allowed to accept any gifts or take pictures. Granted, I was in entertainment. Okay. So we weren't allowed to take pictures with celebrities. We weren't allowed to accept any press gifts. If I was reviewing a movie, I wasn't allowed to interview the cast of the movie, because interviewing the cast might persuade my review. Like, it was very much, ethics were such a strong thing, at least in the entertainment section where I worked. And now, I mean, when I left the paper, and I still do entertainment coverage now because I love entertainment. I remember the first press junket I went to, and I was like, oh, I can't take a picture. Like, I can't eat that food. I can't accept that gift. And then I thought, you know what? I don't work at the paper anymore. I can do whatever I want to do. Like, I didn't want to have ads on my website, because I thought I just want it to be clean, content on there. And then I learned it's okay to have ads on my website. Like, the newspaper has ads too. So I really, now I see just how much it has changed, because now anyone can be a journalist if they have a website or a blog. And during the era that I was there, it was the MySpace era, and I had a MySpace page, and they've laughed at me. Like, the staff, they were like, oh my God, what are you doing? I go, I think all of our departments should have a MySpace page, like the sports or the entertainment. So you know what I would do? This is ultimate craftiness. I had a lot of MySpace followers. And like, at the time, it was like 10,000, which was a lot. And so I would post a link saying, this is my latest craft project. Can you click on it and read it? It's because I want my craft column to be in color on the front of the Saturday paper. So then pretty soon, my little craft columns were getting more traffic at the newspaper site than the movie reviews. And they're like, what is going on? And they're like, what are you doing with your little MySpace friends? And I'm like,
not little,
the internet is the future. I'm like, it wasn't even called social media back then, but I was like, this is the future. And as soon as I realized the power, like after MySpace was Facebook, and my mind was blown, I'm like, oh my God, I love this, because you're able to get more people to see what you make or see what you do. So I've always been, I love social media. Like, ever since those days, it just was such a game changer. But yeah, it definitely has changed a lot.
Well, it took a lot for me to, get into social media, because when I went to school, I went to school for, at that time, now it's called communications, everything
Mhm.
encompassing. But before, it was specific. It was broadcast journalism with the focus in sports and television. And you had to do certain things in certain roles, and they just kept pounding and pounding it to the point where social media came, and I was lost. I truly was.
Yeah,
And a lot of people my age were lost, but it seemed like you grasped onto it pretty early. And actually, that gave you a huge
I did.
advantage.
Yes, I've always been an early adapter to everything. I love technology. I love trying out new things, whether if it's a new craft tool or a new, social platform. And for me, I just loved that I could post about an article that I wrote for the paper and get people to click on it.
Yeah.
And at the paper, even though we had an online department and we had the newspaper online, it was the articles posted online. They weren't on Facebook, they weren't on
Right.
MySpace. And of course, I had my blog. I would blog every single night. And I remember one time the online editor said, I wouldn't really invest a lot into your blog. Like, it's just a fad. And I'm
Wow.
like, I'm just going to do it because I love doing it. And then when I left, like in April 2007,
Hmm.
and we had double people at desks, like we had to share, there was just, our staff was so big. 6 months later, they had massive layoffs,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
At my
pretty
paper
soon
as
they had
well.
more desks than people. And I had some of the reporters that I worked with contacted me and said, how do I start a blog? Like, what do I do? And I was like, oh, I've been working on mine for years. Like, it takes a while, but I'm like, a lot of people, they couldn't handle it because when you have a blog, you're the editor, the writer, the graphic designer, the copy editor, you're all of those
You're
roles.
everything, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
And we
Absolutely.
were at the newspaper, it was just, we would do our interviews, write our story, and then we had 3 layers of editors who would edit it for us. And then if we were lucky, we could, see what the headline was going to be. So it was really such a huge change. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, I have to take my own pictures. I have to write my own captions. I have to do my own editing. And eventually the newspaper did evolve into that, where
Yeah.
reporters became photographers and reporters
Yeah.
and editors.
Yeah.
But I was just
Absolutely.
early on.
No, and that definitely, I feel, was the game changer. So if you're just joining us here at People Junkie, thanks so much. We're here with Kathy Cano-Murillo, aka the Crafty Chica. She has thousands upon thousands of followers on her Instagram, and we'll go through in a few minutes some of your Instagram handles and other social media handles, so, and especially your website, so that people could get to know you if they don't already, which I'm sure many of them do. And we're talking about Crafty Chica. She was talking about how she got started. Can you go a bit more into that, because you did leave, and I know that 2007 2008 was very important, because I know a lot of people were getting laid off where I was working. I was working at the
Mhm,
Orange County Register's weekly papers, and
mhm.
yeah, like that young bustling area was like almost desolate. So
Yeah.
in 2007, you decided, okay, I'm just going to go for it. How did the first couple of years, like on your own,
Well,
how did those go?
oh, it was amazing because I'm very much a believer in looking for signs. And I left in April. In January of that year, I had learned the paper was going to be, they were going to be reassigning us. And I had a feeling that my luxurious entertainment lifestyle, which I've been so spoiled, because I loved entertainment, like there were whispers that some of us would be moved to city courts. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to work city courts. But I remember going to the craft convention and walking the show and not seeing any representation. And I had a speaking engagement there, and I was able to pull up my website, show the statistics of how much site traffic I had. And I had the whole breakdown that these were college educated bilingual women, not non-Latinas and Latinas. Like, people just loved Latin culture and they wanted to make things. And when I left that presentation, I had a line of manufacturers that said, we would like to do a product line with you. And it kind of freaked me out. And
Right?
I ended up going with the company where I loved their products. And I did not have a big salary at the newspaper, even after my college degree. And that was one of the reasons why I feel the universe like helped push me out of there, because I knew I was meant for more. I knew I deserved more. And
Nice.
I was so scared to leave, because working at the newspaper as a features reporter was my dream job since high school. And all
Oh,
of a
wow.
sudden I had this job opportunity from the craft industry. And my parents were like, no, they're going to end up paying you in glue. And I'm like, no, I want to hear this out. So you know what? I was so scared to leave the paper that I made a crazy wish list. And I said, I will take this job if I put like double my pay, a trip to Mexico, like all this crazy.
You're just
like,
throwing spaghetti,
like
right?
yes, like a Mariah Carey style list. And the vice president came out to meet with me. We went to lunch and she said yes to everything. And I was stunned. I was in a restaurant and there was this moment where I did not know what to do. And right next to me was a former Republic employee. And I love the Arizona Republic, nothing bad against it, but we're artists. We want to,
right?
And he goes, hey, Kathy, how's it going? And I go, hi, I'm doing good. How are you? And he goes, ever since I left the paper, I have been doing fantastic. And I'm like, is that a sign or what? And I looked at her and I said, I accept. So as soon as I took that job, I went into product development and I had to design like 60 different products. I knew nothing about product development. I was just kind of thrown into it. So I would go to Fresno and I'm like, I want my own custom glitter colors. So I was mixing glitter colors the whole time in the glitter factory area. And then I would go by myself to eat dinner, and then I had glitter all over me in the restaurant. They'd be like, why does this lady have glitter all over her chest every day when she comes? But it was just such a whirlwind. And then we had to go present to Michael's, present to Joanne, present to all of these different buyers.
Yeah.
And you have the mock display, pull the curtain down. And I had to stand there and like give them the Crafty Chica hard sell on the product line. And it was really exciting. It was such an exciting time. So I loved the paper. I left on a high note there, and I went up to even a higher note. So there was nothing to, as far as salary, all of that was fine because I had asked for double. And I was like, if they say no, I can say they said no, and I can stay at the paper. But they said yes to everything. But you know
amazing.
what? I was still working for someone else. And even though it was wonderful, things happen in your life that push you to the next level.
Right.
And that same feeling I had before I left the newspaper, because I had felt it in January. Like there's something where I'm like, I have a feeling I'm going to leave. It's time to leave the paper. No way, you can't leave the paper. Yes, I have a feeling. Well, when I was here working for this craft company, I started feeling that. And I'm like, I can't, if I deny this, I'm cheating myself out of what is meant for me.
Absolutely. Right.
And it was terrifying. It was so terrifying. That was the scary part of just leaving. And but you know what? That same thing, like things just took off right after I went off on my own. And I think, how in the world could I have juggled all that I'm doing now while still, being the spokesperson for this craft company? So it was just meant to be. Like, you really have to listen to your intuition.
I
That
always
is the
say that,
key.
right? Listen to your body because your body
Mhm.
knows. But I mean, sometimes it's really scary. I mean, but some might say, well, she had a family. Her husband was supporting her.
Yeah.
So even if something went wrong, so I mean, what advice to give to those like me who are single and
Yeah.
don't have that partner, but
Mhm.
we want to try new things. We want to like put ourselves
Oh,
out there.
I was the main breadwinner for my family.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Wow.
And we still, my family 100% supported me. And
That's
my husband
amazing.
is an artist and a musician. And, he worked full time, but
Mhm.
not for a company. And,
Yeah.
musician and art, at the time, it's kind of uneven. I would say treat it like a business
Mhm.
and make an end goal and build a business strategy around it. If you want to make $100,000, come up with a configuration. How many things do you need to make for how much money and sell how many to get to that much? So I work backwards. Like I have the goal and then I do reverse engineering to get there.
Well, it sounds like it worked for you.
It works for me, yes. So
Okay.
I would say, especially if you're single, like
Yeah.
it's you just got to do it because we're
You just got to
here
do
for
it,
a
right?
short time. We're here for a
Absolutely.
short time. It's like just make the most of it and do it. There's always going to be money to be made.
Right.
And if you get in the mindset that I can make money, if I maybe you sacrifice TV
Yeah.
shows or sacrifice some other things and start applying in these areas, time and strategy and all of that, there is a way to make it come together.
No,
Say no to things so you can say yes
yes.
to other things.
How does your family think about your newfound fame? I know you've been doing this for 20 years, but you've been blowing up lately. So can you
You
talk about
know,
that?
our whole family is so dynamic. My husband's a musician, Mr. Rockstar. He just did a big concert Friday night on this big stage. My son, he is a game designer in Latinx gaming. He just
Wow.
he just did like a $15,000 Kickstarter for a game that he invented. My daughter, she is a social media content creator, Maya in the Moment. So she does comedy. She's been in TV commercials and different series on TV and things.
Wait,
So
wait, wait. Is she on Pero Like? Was she on
yeah,
Pero
she was
Like?
on Better.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So our whole family is like, this is our life, this is our world. So we all support each other and coach each other. And we call ourselves like the Chicano Adams family because our house is it's always decorated. We always paint our window for Dia de los Muertos. And it's like our house is like just kind of kooky in a quiet neighborhood. We're the ones that stand out, but they love it. They're so supportive.
that is awesome. So it seems like it's a family affair.
It is. We each have our own lane. We each do our thing. My husband is also a painter, and last night we just hung a show where his art and my art together at this one venue in Phoenix, and it just looks so beautiful. Up, I looked at it, and I'm like, we make a good team.
That is so awesome. I mean, I love when families are able to be like that, but it's very rare that you have so many artists in one family, and the art varies from music to crafts
Yes.
to
Well, you
like
know
other
what it
things.
is? It is really honoring each other's dreams and wishes.
That's
We
beautiful.
we made space for each other to fulfill their passion. My husband's it's music, and never did I say, you better get a job during the day and then do your music. I'm like, no, let's make your music be part of our income. Like, how do we do this? And we made it happen. So it's taking each other's dreams seriously, and our kids. A lot of us creatives as little kids, our parents were
Mhm.
like, oh, you're creative, why don't you be an architect? Or when really it's like, okay, so you love games. Like my son, I'm like, you love writing, you love, now he's one of the writers for Dungeons and Dragons,
Really?
designing games. I'm like, yes. I'm
That's
like, let's
awesome.
go. How do you go from the inside out
Mhm.
and make it a legit thing? And both the kids, I guess they saw what my husband and I did, and they found their own way to do their path of creativity. So it's just paying attention to what they love to do, what makes them happy, because that is what makes things work. When you can do what makes you happy, guilt-free,
right,
and help each other come up with ways to make it work, that is the best gift you can give to your loved ones.
and you're embodying what that saying means. When you do what you love, the money will come. Right.
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
it's very scary. It's
But
something that
it's not always perfect. Like
Mhm.
sometimes whenever like leaving those other jobs to do I'm like, okay, I need to get this many brand campaigns. And then I'm like, yay, I got the brand campaigns, but I want to sew. Just want to make mugs. And then I'm like, oh, I got an order for 50 mugs. Then I'm like, do I want to make mugs? Like there's always, there's always work. It's
right.
just, it's work, like
Mhm.
people think like, I want to do my crafts full time. It's work.
Right.
Like you have to say, okay, do I want to how long will my wrist hold up making, all of these things? I need to hire people now? Do I
Mhm.
need to design a model and get it manufactured? Like there's always higher levels, and higher levels, more devils, as they say.
Wow.
So it's not always like you got to be ready to
Mhm.
accept it all and accelerate as your business grows. But doing
Yeah.
what you love, in the long run, you're your own boss, and that is the best thing.
And I
For
think
me,
that
anyway.
no, but what you're saying is true. And I think that's where people are going, especially, since we're, probably in another recession coming up soon. I mean, in 2007, 2008, people had to pivot, right? And then we're still in the pandemic, the latter stages, but it's still happening and people are still pivoting. And I think that
Yes.
that's so important. Now, there's more opportunity, especially with social media, to
Mhm.
be your own boss. But it's really hard work. A lot of people are like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to do my podcast. I saw yours, like super easy. Yeah, no, especially
Yeah.
when you're the person that has to, be the producer, be the
Right.
host. You have to, it takes a long time for people to get together. You have to deal with schedules, and especially busy individuals such as yourself. So once again, we definitely appreciate you being on People Junkie.
Thank
And
you.
I
And can
just
I
really,
share one tip?
yeah.
Like, especially you mentioned the recession coming
Mhm.
up. If the best thing you can do for your business is think of the end consumer, how you can help them save money, stretch their dollars, make their life easier. Everything I do with Crafty Chica, I think of the end user. Will this be of value to them? And it's, instead of saying, I love this, I'm going to do, I think, okay, will they like it? Will it be? Because without them, we have no jobs.
100%.
So
That's
just
awesome.
taking that into mind with the recession, like what can I do in my world to help make people's lives easier during this difficult time?
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I mean, you actually skipped to one of the last questions I was going to ask you, but yeah, I mean, what other advice would you give individuals who are starting on their own, especially Latinos? Because I mean, again, we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, how important we are when we're using our dollar. And,
Yeah.
and do you see more, Latinos, especially, women coming into social media like
Yes.
this? And what advice would you give them?
Okay, so this is kind of a tough love one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Especially like my era, I had so much scarcity mindset up to several years ago, where I would look for everything I was afraid to invest in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always looking for stuff that was free or how to work. And sometimes that took up so much more time. Now I know that I have what it takes to level up. I'm not afraid to invest in myself, and knowing that I'm going to turn every dollar into $100, or, not like literally, but it's not going to be like we used to squeeze a dollar from a dime.
Right.
No more of that. It's turning $1 into like coming from that angle of abundance.
Yeah.
And so as you go into your business, instead of thinking, oh, I need this much to survive, you say, no, I'm doing this because I'm going to be able to thrive. I'm going to make 3 times more money than what I'm making right now. It's not about We don't want to survive. We want to thrive. We don't want to
Absolutely.
hustle. We want to flow.
Look at
So,
you.
so just that consistency and leveling up, believing in yourself, and thinking like a business. And I've seen other people in my community where I'm like, oh, I want to help you out with your business. I want to buy this from you. And they go, here, Venmo me, but you just use an emoji. Don't put that it's for that because, the tax man. And I'm like, if it's a business, treat it like a business. Like,
100%.
don't try to cheat it or use it, like, because what does that say about yourself, of what you think of yourself in your business? Like, let's level up to compete with the general market and say, let me look at a class. How can I learn about tax advice? How can I get my business license? How can I do wholesale? Like, educate ourselves so that we can be professional business people and not say like it's just a hobby or my little business, but say, no, I'm good at this and I love doing it. I have something to offer. So I'm going to give myself the opportunity to do it correctly. And the second thing is practice makes progress, not perfect. Get rid of the idea of perfection. Oh, I'm waiting because I'm a perfectionist. That will not fly.
Yeah.
Either you're not going to be perfect unless you put it out there, fail, learn what you did wrong, try it again, and keep going
100%.
until you get it right. You're never going to get it. If you can get it right the first time, one time, but I guarantee there's going to be, I've had many ugly cries over fails, but I'm so grateful for them because it took me to the next level to learn how I did it wrong so I could do it right the next time.
No, and that's amazing. And especially again, us being, our background Latinas, I wasn't told, oh, go to college or anything like that. It was just something inherent in me that I wanted to do. And what's interesting is, I got the degree, but now I'm like so much in debt where my other brothers and sisters, I come from a large family, right? Latinas or Latinos. They have homes and they have this. I'm like, I was thinking like, did I do something wrong? But it was something that I felt like I had to do, in order to get the positions that I wanted to. And I understand that. But, for me right now, I'm thinking more of Latino representation. It's so important. So what do you think about the Latino representation, the Latino presentation when it comes to our representation in social media or like crafts just in general? Because I haven't seen a lot of people but yourself doing that.
Well, I have noticed there are a lot of Latino DIYers now, and they are kicking butt. I mean, on TikTok, yes. And I love it. In fact, it's made me ease up on doing tutorials because I'm like, they're already doing such a good job. I'm going to work on my ceramics, because I used to feel like there's no representation. I must save the world with, Latina crafts, Chicana crafts. And so I love seeing the representation out there. And, now I'm more into like product development for retail stores. I am so proud to see other Latino owned brands in national retailers. Like, that is a dream come true. And it's not during Hispanic Heritage Month. It is all year round.
That's awesome.
I just got goosebumps. Like, that has always been my goal with Crafty Chica, to have my products in stores all year round, not just during Hispanic Heritage Month. So I love seeing that we are making progress. And if you go into a store and you see a Latino owned business, know that, okay, it's been done. I can do it too. Like, get rid of scarcity mindset. There is room for all of us. It's a big world. There's room for all of us. And the more of us that put ourselves out there, the more space they have to make for us. It's not just one little slot, It's like, just everyone, let's like just go full force to where they cannot ignore us, and get our products out there and make it normal. Like that's just the normal thing to see.
Oh my gosh, I love your energy. Like, I'm vibing right now. No, it's so true. But like, I feel like we're not told that enough. And then we also have what's called imposter syndrome. I know I've gone through it, being
I have
a
too.
broadcaster, filmmaker, and, podcaster. Like, well, I need to reach a certain level before I could say no. I feel like once you're doing it, and you can call yourself, that filmmaker, that broadcaster, that podcaster, what have you. So I really appreciate you saying that. Before we go any further, if you can give everyone, and please spell it as well,
Sure.
all your social media handles, so that those people who are just listening or watching are just getting to know you. I want them to get to know you further, and I want them to buy some of your products and support you.
Well, it's on Instagram, everywhere. It's at Crafty Chica, CraftyChica. And that's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. It's Kathy Cano-Murillo. So KathyCanoMurillo. And I even have a Facebook group. There's like about, I don't know, 1,200 of us, called Las Crafty Chicas.
Oh, I
and
love
it's
that.
where you can go in and share what you're working on, ask questions. It's just like a place for crafty people who love Latino culture to share what they're making and support each other.
I love that. Kathy, thank you so much for being on People Junkie. You did say that you were going to show a little crafty something that's very easy. So if you can do that, that would be awesome.
Yes. Okay.
And if you could describe it.
One of the things that I do is I design paper crafting products.
Okay.
And let me flip this around. So I'm going to show you how to make a little booklet from a greeting card. So this is super fun. Like, say you get a greeting card from a friend or your birthday. I'm all into recycling, and we're always making, a to-do list and notepads and everything. So especially with the recession, let's save everything,
right?
And make something out of it. So this is a little kit. I do a Crafty Chica online art retreats every Christmas.
Okay.
And this is one of the projects from that. So this was a kit that I had left over. So look at this paper. This isn't the actual paper. This is before the paper came out. I made a copy of it.
Okay.
So this is the paper, and here's the little greeting card. So I have 2 holes that I punched in there. And then this is just a piece of regular printer paper cut in half.
Yeah.
And you just want to line up the little holes like that. And I just used a hole punch like this. And I took some twine and I put this through here. If you're doing this with kids, you could use yarn. I mean, this is a good little critical thinking exercise of, assembling this card, a little bit of engineering.
Okay.
And
so
then
if you could talk about how you're tying the card and what you're tying the card with.
So this is twine.
Okay.
And you could use yarn, embroidery, thread.
Okay.
This is just some twine that I happen to have. And I'm just going to tie it in a little knot like this. So
and you put it through the holes so that
I put it through the 2 holes.
Got it.
And now it creates this little book. So I can even put this into a little bow like this. So now the book part is assembled, and you can decide if you want to cut this edge or leave it and, color that part of it. So then we just go to the paper here, and I'm just going to.
If you could describe the paper, because it's pretty cool.
Yes. So this is paper. These are little Frida Kahlo peg dolls.
Nice.
And then there's like a little paint palette and brushes and little hearts. So when I designed my paper, I like so that people can either use the whole thing, or they can, like what we call in the craft world, fussy cut the little pieces out like that. So I'm just going to use my pinking shears like this. And I'm going to use this to cover the front of the card. And I'm actually tomorrow, I'm teaching a corporate class for a corporate company. We have 100 people that I'm Zooming with to show a fun paper crafting. And then you can take some dry adhesive like this or a glue stick, whichever.
I was going to ask if you don't have a glue stick. I mean, if you don't have dry adhesive, you go for a glue stick, right?
You could use a glue stick like this, just like a regular Elmer's glue stick like this.
Okay. Yeah.
Dry adhesive is like fancy craft things, but just a glue stick. And so if you're making a card like this, you can use wrapping paper, just any cute kind of paper that you like. So I'm putting this on the front of the card. So say you get a bunch of Christmas cards. I mean, you could turn them into little notebooks and use them for, whatever it is that you want. So this I'm going to glue right here.
Okay, you got the sparkles going. She has some purple.
Have the glitter. So I'm just going to add this right here. And then I'm going to add my little focal point. So I'm going to cut this out.
What is a focal point? Like, what does that mean?
The focal point is this is going to be the center of my card.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cut this out. And this is fussy cutting when you cut really close to the design.
Okay.
And we're just going to cut this out. And these are all my designs. So if you go to my website, I have a link there to my store where I have my papers for sale. I actually have my Crafty Chica items at Barnes and Noble right now.
Look at you.
So some of them already came out and the other ones come out, I think, oh my gosh, it's already August this month. These are called little foam dots.
Yeah.
And I love these because they create dimension. So I'm just going to put this like this. And I think I'm going to change this. I'm going to move this way like this.
And again, what's awesome about, being crafty is there's no wrong or right way to do it. It's just how you're feeling and, you go for it, right?
Yes. So I'm just going to put that right here.
Wow.
And then this is a little stamp that I designed and I stamped them all for the kit. And I'm going to put this one as the little sentiment here. And I'm going to use my little foam dot.
So it's just layering is what I'm looking at and what I'm hearing.
It's layering all of the different pieces. And you could get really involved and cut all of the little shapes out. And so I'm just going to put this like that.
And what does it say?
Buenas vibras.
Okay, good vibes.
Yes. And so this part, you could color these with markers or with colored pencils and glue those on there. So I'm going to use my pinking shears and just cut the edge of this paper so it looks cute.
And the pinking shears are what you're describing is like when you have those like rugged edges, right? Or like ribbed edges.
Like the little zigzags. So these are originally they're for fabric, but this pair I use for my paper crafting.
Okay.
Because they have the little plastic ones, but they always break. So isn't that cute? So now you have this little book. Yeah. And then you could use it to doodle, to write your manifestation list. What I like to do for a gift is I will make like 12 of these and I'll package them up and put a bow on them and I'll give them to a friend. So they have one for each month that they can make the book. Either I'll make the book or if they're crafty, I'll put it so they can make their own books. And that way, at the end of the year, they will have 12 little books where they can, see what they, their favorite thing that happened that month or just the highlights or their doodles or sketches. And it's just, a fun way to get off of our screens, our computer screens, and do something with our hands, something creative.
Absolutely.
And I have a playlist on Spotify that I tell people they can find me there and find the playlist and just craft, just get creative.
Yeah.
And as you're making these things, you can think about, what are my goals? What do I want to do with my life? Like, what is something scary I want to tackle? What is the most craziest thing that I could do that I have been wanting to do, but I'm scared? And actually write it down and say, what would I need to do to make this happen? And that's what I have done with all of my projects. And I've done everything from hot balloon rides to publishing novels to, interviewing Jennifer Lopez to, all different. Yes.
So when did that happen? If you want to, again, I so appreciate, you showing us a little craft. We'd love to see your face again. And for those who are just listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and, different arenas where you can just listen to this podcast, you could also watch this podcast and then see exactly what, Kathy, AKA Crafty Chica, was working on. And thank you so much. That was so special. I really appreciate you doing that for us.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me do that. Now you get to see my hand as I put my phone back. There we go.
Yeah, it's real life. This is how podcasts work.
Real life. Yes. But yeah, I think just essentially, thank you so much for having me on here. And I just encourage everyone to go live your best life. Like, go do those things you want to do. Figure it out. And even if it's a flop, it's a good story to tell that you did.
Well, that's actually,
and if it's a win, then it's a good story to tell.
Then it's a great story, right? I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I wanted people to be inspired by your story. A lot of times, people aren't communicating with one another the way we used to communicate before, cell phones were everywhere. Like, we had pagers, right?
Yes.
And all that good stuff. But now I feel like the art of someone telling their storytelling is sort of receding to the point where, like, I feel like there's a drought when it comes to it.
And we need to do more of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why I started People Junkie, because I wanted people to get to know about one another and make connections. And that's why I asked all my guests to share their where you could find them, because maybe someone will see this and be like, wow, I've been wanting to do this. And you know what? Kathy inspired me. And I love that.
Oh, I would love that. Yes. If
Absolutely.
I can do it, you guys can do it. I mean, I've had a lot of fails. Like, it sounds good to say I did this, I did that, but I had a lot of things that did not work out. But you know what? I'm like, what have I got to lose? Let me try something else. Let me try it again. And again, figure out where you went wrong and fix it the next time, if you really want it bad enough.
Absolutely. Again, I so appreciate you. I so appreciate you giving time to myself, People Junkie, and our audience. I so look forward to having you on another season, because I know you're going to have more things that we definitely want to talk about. But thank you so much. So right now, again, we were talking with Kathy Cano-Murillo, and everyone, give her a shout out. If you want some ideas about crafts or just, little birthday gifts or what have you, I know she has them. But I just want you to say, if you could talk about just a few of your favorite crafts, because I asked you to send me some pictures and I'm excited, to put them out there. Yes. So if you can go ahead and do so.
Well, I love ceramics. I have a kiln and a wheel, a slab roller. A lot of people don't have those tools, so you can use air dry clay. So definitely ceramics. And I love sewing. I designed 2 whole fabric collections. So just this weekend, I sewed 20 eye pillows.
Oh my gosh.
I can't just sew one, I have to sew 20 of them, right? And then I attached a little note to each one so I can give them out to friends. So I think, definitely anything with sewing. I love making jewelry. I love painting.
Wow.
So I love all of it. Anything creative, I'm down for it.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing, more products that you'll have in the future on HSN and, craftychica.com and so many, other arenas where people can purchase your products. So again, thank you. Good energy to you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk later.
Sounds
Adios.
Good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Adios. Bye. Once again, I had the pleasure of speaking with Kathy Cano-Murillo, also known as the Crafty Chica. Thanks again for joining People Junkie. Make sure to check us out on all our social media platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and also share. And if you're on the go, no worries, we got you. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and soon many more platforms. Now remember, wherever you go or whatever you do, put a smile on your face. You never know whose day you'll make. Ciao for now.